The distress call. In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, the Australi civilization had long been regarded as a beacon of peace and enlightenment. Their homeworld, Lumina, was a marvel of bioluminescent forests and crystalline cities that seemed to float among the clouds. For millennia, the Australi had dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge and harmony, their advances in art and science unrivaled in their corner of the cosmos. Zara, the lead astral keeper of Lumina, stood atop the highest spire of the capital nexus, her translucent form shimmering with the collected wisdom of generations. Her multifaceted eyes gazed out at the tapestry of stars that had always brought her people comfort. But on this day, those same stars heralded doom. The first sign of trouble came as a faint disturbance in the quantum field that surrounded Lumina. Zara felt it before the alarm sounded, a discordant note in the symphony of the universe. Within moments, the peaceful skies of Lumina were torn asunder as a massive fleet of obsidian ships dropped out of hyperspace. Panic spread through the crystalline streets of the capital as the Australi, unaccustomed to conflict, struggled to comprehend the unfolding catastrophe. Zara's voice, usually melodious and soothing, crackled with urgency over the planetary communication network. Citizens of Lumina, an unknown force has entered our system with hostile intent. Our defenses. We have no defenses. We must call for aid. As the first salvos from the invading fleet struck Lumina's orbital stations, turning them into expanding clouds of glittering debris, the Australi activated their deep space distress beacon. The signal, carrying their desperate plea for help, raced across the galaxy at speeds beyond light. To any who can hear us, Zara's voice rang out, resonating with the combined anguish of her people. We are the Australi. Our world is under attack by an unknown aggressor. We are a peaceful people. We have no means to defend ourselves. Please, if there is any mercy in the cosmos, send help. The message repeated, echoing through the void as the Australi watched their world burn. In the days that followed, the invaders revealed themselves. They called themselves the Void Hunters, a species that had evolved in the darkness between stars. Their bodies were living shadows, absorbing light and hope wherever they went. Their technology was as advanced as it was brutal, designed for one purpose: to consume and destroy. Australi cities, marvels of bioengineered architecture that had stood for thousands of years, crumbled under the onslaught. The people, having never known war, were helpless against the Void Hunters' efficiently ruthless tactics. Those who weren't killed outright were rounded up, their luminous essence drained to fuel the invaders' dark machines. Zara and what remained of the Astral Council retreated to a hidden sanctuary deep beneath Lumina's surface. From there, they continued to broadcast their plea, even as hope dwindled with each passing hour. Please, Zara whispered into the transmitter, her once radiant form now dim with despair. Anyone, help us. The distress call raced on, passing by inhabited systems. Many received it, but none answered. The Australi's reputation as pacifists worked against them. Other races, themselves not strong enough to challenge the Void Hunters, saw no strategic value in coming to their aid. Some even saw an opportunity in the Australi's fall, already planning to scavenge the remains of their once great civilization. But the signal traveled further, reaching the edges of known space. And there, it was heard by a species that many in the galaxy viewed with a mixture of fear and awe: humans. On Earth, in the upper echelons of the Interstellar Defense Force, IDF, alarms blared as the Australi distress call was received and decrypted. Admiral Elena Chen, a veteran of Earth's own tumultuous history of wars and near-extinction events, listened to the message with a grim expression. "Play it again," she ordered, her weathered face illuminated by holographic displays, showing the known location of Lumina and the surrounding star systems. As Zara's desperate plea echoed through the command center, Chen turned to her assembled staff. Opinions? Colonel Ramirez, head of tactical operations, spoke first. "It's well outside our sphere of influence. Admiral, we have no formal ties with the Australi. Intervening could be seen as an act of aggression by other galactic powers. Their civilians, Ramirez, countered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the IDF's chief xenobiologist. From what we know of Astrali culture, they're completely defenseless against a military invasion. Chen nodded, her mind already racing through potential scenarios. And if we do nothing, we're letting an entire sapient species face extinction. She paused, then turned to her communications officer. Any word from the Galactic Council? No, ma'am, the officer replied. It seems we're the only ones responding. A heavy silence fell over the room. Humanity, still viewed by many older species as upstarts in the galactic community, now faced a monumental decision. Their intervention could save billions of lives or potentially spark a wider conflict. Admiral Chen straightened, her decision made. Prep the fleet. We're going to Lumina. The whole fleet, ma'am? Ramirez asked, surprised. Chen's eyes hardened. Whoever these invaders are, they're about to learn why humanity is called the wild card of the galaxy. We go in hard, we go in fast, and we show no mercy to those who prey on the defenseless. As the command center erupted into action, Chen keyed in a special communications frequency. Mr. President, we've received a distress call. I'm mobilizing the fleet for a rescue operation. She paused, then added, Sir, the fate of an entire species hangs in the balance. We may be their only hope. The President's response was swift and unequivocal. You have full authorization, Admiral. Show them what humanity stands for. Within hours, the massive engines of Earth's warships flared to life. Dreadnoughts, carriers, and swarms of smaller craft formed up, preparing for the jump to hyperspace. As the fleet departed, many on Earth watched the sky, knowing that their sailors and marines were embarking on a mission that could change the course of galactic history. Aboard the IDF flagship Thermopylae, Admiral Chen addressed the fleet. Men and women of Earth, we go now to the aid of a people we've never met, to fight an enemy we've never seen. But we go because it's right, because it's just, and because if we don't, no one will. The Astrali call for help, and humanity answers. Show them. Show the galaxy what that means. As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, the Astrali huddled in their shelters, unaware that salvation was en route. And aboard their ships, the Void Hunters continued their assault, oblivious to the storm of vengeance racing towards them across the stars. Humanity was coming, and they were bringing hell with them. Humanity's response. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the Lumina system. Admiral Elena Chen stood on the bridge of the Thermopylae, her steely gaze fixed on the holographic display showing the unfolding catastrophe. Status report, she barked, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere on the bridge. Colonel Ramirez, his face grim, responded quickly. Astrali defenses have been completely overwhelmed, ma'am. We're detecting widespread destruction on the planet's surface. The enemy fleet, it's massive. They outnumber us at least 3-1. Chen's jaw tightened. The situation was even worse than they had anticipated. Life signs on the planet. Dr. Tanaka, hunched over her console, looked up with a mix of relief and worry. Still detecting significant Astrali populations. Admiral, but they're scattered, mostly in underground shelters. The invaders, the Void Hunters, they're rounding up survivors for something. I can't quite make sense of the energy readings. Chen muttered under her breath. She'd seen patterns like this before in humanity's own bloody history. Her mind raced, weighing options, calculating risks. They were outnumbered, yes, but humanity had long ago learned that superior numbers didn't always equate to victory. All ships, battle stations, Chen commanded. Initiate Operation Lightbringer. The human fleet sprang into action with practiced precision. Smaller, faster ships darted forward, their advanced stealth systems allowing them to slip past the Void Hunter's outer sensor perimeter. Larger vessels began to spread out, forming a defensive line between the Void Hunter's armada and Lumina. Ma'am, Ramirez interjected, The Void Hunters have detected us. They're moving to engage. Chen nodded. It was time. All ships, weapons free. Show these bastards what happens when you pick on those who can't fight back. The first shots of the battle lanced across space. Brilliant beams of energy and swarms of missiles. The Void Hunters, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a new combatant, scrambled to regroup. Their larger ships turned ponderously, bringing their main guns to bear on the human fleet. But Chen had anticipated this. Now, she ordered. From the belly of the human carriers erupted swarms of fighters. These weren't ordinary craft. They were the pride of human military technology, piloted by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They darted between the lumbering Void Hunter capital ships, their advanced weaponry punching through shields and armor alike. On the bridge of the Thermopylae, Chen watched the battle unfold with calculating eyes. Colonel, status of our ground teams. Ramirez consulted his display. First wave has landed, ma'am. They're encountering heavy resistance, but they're making progress towards the largest concentration of Astrali survivors. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 was underway, but she knew the real challenge was yet to come. The element of surprise had given them an edge, but the Void Hunters still outnumbered them significantly. This wasn't just a battle. It was a race against time. Admiral. Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the chaos. I'm detecting a transmission from the planet's surface. It's the Astrali leadership. Put it through, Chen ordered, her heart pounding. The holographic display flickered, and the image of an Astrali appeared. Unlike the graceful, luminous beings described in Earth's databanks, this one looked haggard, its once vibrant form dulled with stress and fear. But in its multifaceted eyes, there was a glimmer of hope. This is Zora, Astral Keeper of Lumina, the being began, its voice trembling. To the unknown fleet engaging the Void Hunters, we thank you. But please, our people, they're being taken. The Void Hunters, they have camps, horrible places. If you can hear this, please. Chen stepped forward, her face set in determination. Astral Keeper Zara, this is Fleet Admiral Elena Chen of the Earth Interstellar Defense Force. We received your distress call. Help has arrived. Zara's eyes widened in shock and relief. Humans? You came. We came, Chen confirmed, and we're not leaving until your people are safe, and the Void Hunters are nothing but a bad memory. Can you transmit the locations of those camps? As Zara nodded and began relaying information, Chen turned to her staff. Adjust our ground strategy. Priority is liberating those camps and evacuating civilians. All ships press the attack. We need to keep the Void Hunters' fleet occupied. The battle in space intensified. Human ships, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that caught the Void Hunters off guard. Centuries of conflict had honed humanity's military prowess to a razor's edge, and now that edge was cutting deep into the invaders' forces. On the surface of Lumina, human marines pushed forward. They were a sight unlike anything the Astrali had ever seen. Armored figures moving with lethal grace, their weapons spitting death at the Void Hunter forces. Where the shadow-like invaders had expected to find only cowering prey, they now faced predators fiercer than themselves. In one of the Void Hunters' prison camps, a group of captured Astrali huddled in terror as explosions rocked the perimeter. The guards, their forms rippling with dark energy, raised their weapons. But before they could fire, the walls burst inward. Human soldiers poured through the breach, their weapons cutting down the Void Hunters with surgical precision. A Marine sergeant approached the bewildered Astrali, his helmet retracting to reveal a reassuring smile. "It's all right," he said, extending a hand. "We're here to get you out." As the rescued Astrali were led to safety, more reports flooded in from across Lumina. Human forces were turning the tide, but the Void Hunters were far from defeated. Their technology, powered by some dark energy the humans had never encountered before, was formidable. Back on the Thermopylae, Admiral Chen received a priority communication from Earth. The president's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave. "Admiral, the Galactic Council has finally responded to our actions. They're not pleased. We're being accused of violating non-intervention protocols and potentially destabilizing the region." Chen's eyes narrowed. "With all due respect, Mr. President, to hell with their protocols. There's a genocide happening here." The president nodded, a hint of a smile on his face. "I couldn't agree more, Admiral. You have the full backing of Earth. Whatever you need, you've got it. Show the galaxy what humanity stands for." As the communication ended, Chen turned back to the battle display. The Void Hunters were regrouping, preparing for a massive counterattack. But now reinforcements were on the way from Earth. The real battle was just beginning. "All hands." Chen's voice rang out across the fleet. "This is the Admiral. The galaxy's watching us now. Let's show them that when humanity answers a call for help, we answer with everything we've got. For Earth, for Lumina, for every species that has ever faced extinction at the hands of tyrants, we fight." A cheer went up across the human ships, and even in the midst of battle, the Astrali felt something they hadn't experienced since the invasion began: hope. The cosmic crucible was heating up, and humanity was ready to prove its mettle. The Void Hunters were about to learn a harsh lesson. In the face of human determination, even the darkest shadows could be burned away. Operation Stardust. The battle for Lumina raged on, a cosmic dance of light and shadow. Human warships darted between the lumbering vessels of the Void Hunters, their weapons flaring like newborn stars against the backdrop of space. On the planet's surface, marine dropships screamed through the atmosphere, leaving trails of fire as they descended towards their targets. Admiral Elena Chen stood at the helm of the Thermopylae, her eyes never leaving the holographic battle map. The flow of combat was changing, shifting like quicksilver as both sides adapted to each other's tactics. The initial surprise of humanity's arrival had worn off, and now the true test began. "Ma'am," Colonel Ramirez called out, his voice tense, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Void Hunters' flagship. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Tanaka." Analysis. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's fingers flew over her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. It's not just energy, Admiral. It's as if they're gathering darkness itself. The readings are off the charts." Before Chen could respond, a chilling transmission cut through their communications. A voice, cold and ancient, filled the bridge. "Humans," it hissed, the sound sending shivers down the spines of even the most hardened veterans. "You meddle in affairs beyond your comprehension. We are the Void Hunters, harvesters of light, consumers of hope. Your interference is amusing, but futile." Chen stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the enemy. "This is Admiral Elena Chen of Earth. You're committing genocide against a peaceful species. Stand down now, or face the consequences." A laugh, like the cracking of glaciers, was the response. "Consequences? You children of a young sun know nothing of consequences. We have devoured civilizations while your ancestors still clung to trees. But come then. Show us these consequences, and we will show you true darkness." The transmission cut off, and for a moment, silence reigned on the bridge. Then Chen's voice, filled with steel, rang out. "All hands, prepare for heavy combat. They want to see what we're made of. Let's oblige them." As if on cue, the Void Hunter's flagship began to move. Its hull, blacker than the space around it, seemed to ripple and shift. Tendrils of dark energy lashed out, grasping at nearby human ships and draining them of power. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen barked. "All ships, maintain distance from that thing. Focus fire on its tendrils." The human fleet responded with practiced precision, their formation breaking apart and reforming like a flock of startled birds. Beams of energy and salvos of missiles streaked towards the Void Hunter's flagship, but many seemed to be swallowed by the darkness surrounding it. On the surface of Lumina, The situation was equally dire. Marine Captain Sarah Hassan led her squad through the ruins of what had once been a magnificent Astrali city. The crystalline structures, now shattered and dim, cast strange shadows in the half-light. "Keep your eyes peeled," Hassan warned her team. These shadow bastards could be anywhere. As if summoned by her words, dark forms began to coalesce around them. Void hunters, their bodies seeming to absorb the very light around them, emerged from every crevice and shadow. "Contact," Hassan shouted, her rifle already spitting fire. "Light 'em up." The Marines responded instantly, their weapons flaring to life. Bullets laced with phosphorus tracers cut through the air, each impact causing the Void hunters to recoil as if burned. But for every one that fell, two more seemed to take its place. "Captain," one of her soldiers called out, "we're being surrounded." Hassan gritted her teeth, her mind racing. They needed an edge, something the Void hunters wouldn't expect. Her eyes fell on a nearby building, its walls still faintly glowing with residual Astrali energy. "Jones, Wu, cover me," she ordered, then sprinted towards the structure. Dodging enemy fire, she reached the wall and placed her hand against it. To her surprise, she felt a faint warmth, a resonance. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The Astrali technology, dormant since the invasion, responded to her touch. Light began to pulse from the walls, growing brighter with each second. "Everyone, fall back to me," Hassan shouted. As her team converged on her position, the light reached a crescendo. A wave of pure, brilliant energy burst forth, washing over the battlefield. The Void hunters screamed, their shadowy forms dissipating under the onslaught of light. In orbit, Admiral Chen watched in awe as points of light began to flare across the planet's surface. "Tanaka, what am I looking at?" The xenobiologist's voice was filled with excitement. "It's the Astrali technology, Admiral. Somehow, our people are activating it. It's like the planet itself is fighting back." Chen's mind raced with the implications. "Get me a line to ground forces. Tell them to focus on activating any Astrali tech they can find. And prep our science teams for immediate deployment. We need to understand this. Fast." As the orders went out, the tide of battle began to shift. Human Marines, now armed with the knowledge of how to activate Astrali defenses, pushed forward with renewed vigor. Across Lumina, points of light blossomed, driving back the shadows of the Void hunters. In space, the effect was equally dramatic. The energy released from the planet below seemed to resonate with the human ships, enhancing their shields and weapons. The Void hunters' flagship, once seemingly invincible, now found itself on the defensive. "Press the advantage," Chen ordered, her voice ringing with determination. "All ships, concentrate fire on their flagship. Let's end this." The combined firepower of the human fleet, now augmented by Astrali energy, lanced towards the Void hunters' command ship. For a moment, it seemed as if even this assault would be swallowed by the darkness. But then, a crack appeared in the shadow surrounding the vessel. Light poured through, and with it, hope. On the planet's surface, Zara, the astral keeper, emerged from hiding. Seeing the humans fighting alongside the reawakened Astrali technology, she made a decision. Raising her arms, she began to sing. An ancient song of her people, a hymn to the light that had birthed their civilization. As her voice rang out, carried by technology beyond human understanding, every Astrali on the planet joined in. Their combined voices, a chorus of light and hope, resonated through the very fabric of space-time. In that moment, human and Astrali, technology and biology, science, and what could only be described as magic, all came together in a symphony of defiance against the darkness. The Void hunters' flagship, assaulted from all sides by light and firepower, began to buckle. Cracks spread across its hull, darkness bleeding into space like ichor. With a final, catastrophic explosion, the massive ship split apart, its destruction sending a shockwave through the Void hunters' fleet. As the enemy forces fell into disarray, Admiral Chen's voice rang out across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Elena Chen to all Void Hunter forces. Your flagship is destroyed. Your invasion has failed. Surrender now or be destroyed." For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, one by one, the remaining Void Hunter ships began to power down their weapons. The shadow that had threatened to engulf Lumina was receding, burned away by the combined light of human determination and Astrali hope. But even as the first cheers of victory began to sound, Chen knew this was far from over. The Void Hunters had been defeated, yes, but not destroyed. And in the aftermath of battle, new questions arose. What was the true nature of the Astrali's power? How had humans been able to activate it? And perhaps most importantly, what would the rest of the galaxy make of humanity's actions? As the dust settled on Lumina, one thing was clear. The universe would never be the same again. Humanity had answered a call for help, and in doing so, had catapulted themselves onto the galactic stage in a way no one could have predicted. The cosmic crucible had forged a new alliance, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the galaxy was about to begin. The turning point. In the aftermath of the battle, Lumina's crystalline landscape glittered with an uneasy peace. The combined forces of humanity and the Astrali had driven back the Void Hunters, but the cost had been high. Shattered cities and scarred Earth bore testament to the ferocity of the conflict. Admiral Elena Chen stood in what remained of the Astrali capital, her eyes scanning the horizon where human dropships ferried supplies and medical teams. Beside her, Zara, the astral keeper, shimmered with a dim light, her form still weakened from the ordeal. "Your people fought bravely," Zara said, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the bustling activity around them. "We owe you a debt we can never repay." Chen shook her head. "There's no debt between friends, Keeper Zara. We came because it was the right thing to do." Before Zara could respond, Colonel Ramirez approached, his face grim. "Admiral, we've got a situation. The Galactic Council is demanding an immediate audience. They're not happy." Chen's jaw tightened. She had expected this, but not so soon. "Very well. Patch them through to the Thermopylae. I'll be there shortly." She turned to Zara. "I'm afraid duty calls. Will you join us? The Council should hear from the Astrali directly." Zara nodded, her form brightening slightly with resolve. Of course, it's time the galaxy understood what transpired here. As they made their way to the waiting shuttle, Dr. Tanaka fell into step beside them, her eyes alight with excitement. "Admiral, Keeper Zara, you need to see this. We've made a breakthrough in understanding the Astrali technology." Aboard the Thermopylae, the small group gathered in the conference room. The air was thick with tension as the holographic projectors hummed to life, revealing the stern faces of the Galactic Council representatives. The Arbiter, a towering insectoid being, spoke first, its mandibles clicking with disapproval. "Admiral Chen of Earth, you stand accused of violating the non-intervention protocols. Your actions have destabilized an entire sector and drawn unaligned powers into a conflict that was not theirs. How do you answer these charges?" Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and unyielding. "With all due respect, Arbiter, I reject them entirely. We received a distress call from a peaceful species facing extinction. The protocols you mentioned were designed to prevent aggression, not to tie our hands in the face of genocide." Murmurs rippled through the council. A avian being, its feathers ruffling, interjected, "Be that as it may, humans are newcomers to the galactic stage. You cannot simply..." "Cannot simply what?" Chen interrupted, her voice sharp. "Cannot simply save billions of lives. Cannot stand up to an aggressor that threatened to upset the balance of an entire sector." She gestured to Zara. "The Astrali called for help, and we answered. I suggest you hear their testimony before passing judgment." Zara stepped forward, her form glowing brighter as she addressed the council. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I am Zara, Astral Keeper of Lumina. Our people have long respected the wisdom of this body, but in our hour of need, it was humanity who came to our aid. They fought not for territory or resources, but for the simple principle that no species should face extinction unaided. The council chamber fell silent as Zara recounted the horrors of the Void Hunters' invasion and the bravery of the human forces. As she spoke, the accusing glares of the council members began to soften, replaced by looks of shock, and in some cases, shame. When Zara finished, the arbiter spoke again, its tone noticeably less hostile. This is troubling news. The Void Hunters have long been a myth, a boogeyman to frighten younglings. If they are real, and as powerful as you say, this changes everything. Chen saw her opening. Members of the council, the galaxy is changing. The old protocols, the old ways of thinking, they're not enough anymore. Humanity didn't intervene to upset the balance, but to preserve it. And in doing so, we've discovered something that could change everything. She nodded to Dr. Tanaka, who stepped forward eagerly. During the battle, we discovered that human physiology is uniquely compatible with astrali technology. It's as if we were always meant to find each other. Tanaka activated a holographic display, showing the intricate patterns of astrali biotech interfacing with human neural patterns. The Astrali's advanced technology responds to human thought patterns in ways we're only beginning to understand. It's not just a weapon against the Void Hunters. It's a key to unlocking scientific advancements that could benefit the entire galaxy. The council erupted in a flurry of discussions, their earlier accusations forgotten in the face of this revelation. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had bought time, and possibly more. The arbiter raised a limb, silencing the chamber. Admiral Chen, Keeper Zara, Dr. Tanaka, this information is unprecedented. We will need time to deliberate on its implications. For now, the charges against Earth are suspended. You are to maintain your position in the Lumina system and continue your research. The Council will reconvene in one standard cycle to discuss next steps. As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her companions. Well, that buys us some time. But we're not out of the woods yet. Zara's form pulsed with a mix of relief and concern. What happens now, Admiral? Chen's eyes hardened with determination. Now we prepare. The Void Hunters may be defeated, but they're not destroyed. They'll be back, and next time, they'll be ready for us. We need to understand this connection between our peoples, harness it, and be ready to defend not just Lumina, not just Earth, but the entire galaxy if necessary. Dr. Tanaka nodded enthusiastically. I'll assemble a joint human astrally research team immediately. If we can unlock the full potential of this technology, there's no telling what we might achieve. As they discussed plans, a junior officer burst into the room, his face pale. Admiral, we're detecting spatial anomalies all around the system. It's like the fabric of space itself is tearing. Chen rushed to the bridge, the others closed behind. The main view screen showed a terrifying sight. Holes were opening in the very fabric of space-time around Lumina, each crackling with dark energy. Status report, Chen barked. Ramirez's fingers flew over his console. Multiple ruptures detected, Admiral. They're not natural. It's as if something is clawing its way into our reality. Zara's light dimmed in fear. The Void Hunters. They're not just invaders from another part of space. They're invaders from another dimension entirely. As the crew watched in horror, massive shapes began to emerge from the ruptures. Ships, if they could be called that, composed of shadow and nightmares, larger than anything they had faced before. Chen's mind raced. They were outgunned, outmatched, and out of time. But as she looked around at her crew, at Zara, at the planet they had fought so hard to defend, she knew retreat was not an option. All hands, battle stations, she commanded, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. Dr. Tanaka, Keeper Zara, we need a miracle. Find a way to supercharge that astrali tech. Colonel Ramirez, alert Earth. Tell them we're about to face the storm. As klaxons blared and the crew rushed to their posts, Chen stared out at the emerging nightmare before them. The true test, it seemed, was only just beginning. Humanity had answered the call for help, had proven their worth on the galactic stage. Now, they would have to prove they could save not just a single world, but reality itself. The cosmic crucible was heating up, and the fate of everything hung in the balance. Aftermath and new alliances. The void around Lumina erupted into chaos as the dimensional rifts tore open the fabric of space-time. The Void Hunters' reinforcements poured through, their shadow ships dwarfing even the largest vessels in the human fleet. Admiral Elena Chen stood on the bridge of the Thermopylae, her face illuminated by the eerie glow of tactical displays and the otherworldly energies swirling outside. All ships, defensive formation Delta, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Concentrate fire on the rifts themselves. If we can't beat them, we'll damn well close the door on them. As the human fleet maneuvered into position, Dr. Tanaka and Keeper Zara worked feverishly in one of the Thermopylae's labs. Astrali crystals pulsed with energy as they interfaced with human technology, creating a hybrid system never before seen in the galaxy. "It's working," Tanaka exclaimed, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. "The resonance patterns are aligning. If we can amplify this on a large enough scale, we might be able to seal the rifts," Zara finished, her form glowing brighter with hope. On the bridge, Colonel Ramirez's voice cut through the tension. "Admiral, the first wave is through. They're charging weapons." Chen gritted her teeth. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Return fire, but conserve energy for the main objective. We just need to buy a little more time." The space around Lumina lit up with weapons fire. Human ships darted between the lumbering Void Hunter vessels, their more advanced technology and tactics allowing them to punch above their weight. But for every shadow ship they damaged or destroyed, two more seemed to emerge from the rifts. "Admiral," Tanaka's voice crackled over the comm, "we've got it. We can generate a pulse that should close the rifts, but we'll need to be closer. Much closer." Chen didn't hesitate. "Plot a course for the center of that mess. All ships, cover the Thermopylae. We're going in." The human flagship plunged into the heart of the battle, escorted by a phalanx of cruisers and fighters. Void Hunter vessels turned to intercept, sensing the danger. "Now, Doctor," Chen shouted as they reached the epicenter of the dimensional tear. Tanaka and Zara activated their hybrid device. A pulse of energy, neither fully human nor astrally, erupted from the Thermopylae. It swept across space, momentarily illuminating the shadow ships in stark relief before slamming into the rifts. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of reality, the rifts began to close. Void Hunter ships caught in the closure were torn apart, their otherworldly materials unable to withstand the stress of dimensional collapse. "It's working," Ramirez exclaimed. "The rifts are sealing." But their victory was short-lived. As the last of the rifts closed, a massive Void Hunter vessel, easily twice the size of the Thermopylae, emerged. Its surface roiled with dark energy, and when it spoke, it was as if the void itself had found a voice. "Humans," it boomed, the sound resonating through every ship and soul in the system. "You have proven. Interesting. But this is not over. We are eternal. We are infinite. We will return, and when we do, all the light in your pitiful galaxy will be extinguished." Before anyone could react, the massive ship seemed to fold in on itself, vanishing in a burst of dark energy that momentarily blinded every sensor in the fleet. As the light returned, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Debris from destroyed ships, both human and Void Hunter, drifted lazily through space. On the bridge of the Thermopylae, Chen let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Status report," she said, her voice hoarse. Ramirez scanned his displays. "All rifts are closed, Admiral." No signs of any remaining Void Hunter activity, but our losses are heavy. Nearly a third of the fleet is gone or disabled. Chen nodded grimly. Begin rescue operations immediately and get me a line to Earth. They need to know what happened here. In the days that followed, as the combined forces of humanity and the Astrali worked to rebuild, delegations from across the galaxy arrived at Lumina. The Galactic Council, shaken by the revelation of the Void Hunter's existence and impressed by humanity's actions, convened an emergency session. Admiral Chen, Keeper Zara, and representatives from Earth stood before the assembled delegates of 100 spacefaring civilizations. The Arbiter, its mandibles clicking thoughtfully, addressed the gathering. "We stand at a crossroads," it began. "The threat we faced here is beyond anything our protocols and treaties were designed to handle. The humans, newcomers though they may be, have demonstrated not only their bravery but their essential role in the defense of our galaxy." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Arbiter continued, "Therefore, it is the decision of this council that the non-intervention protocols be immediately revised. Furthermore, we propose the creation of a new galactic defense force, with joint leadership shared between the established council races and humanity." The chamber erupted in a mix of cheers and heated discussions. Chen turned to Zara, a smile playing on her lips. "Well, that's certainly a change of tune." Zara's form pulsed with amusement. "Indeed. It seems your people have a talent for shaking things up, Admiral." As the council debated the finer points of this new arrangement, Chen's communicator buzzed. It was a message from Earth, marked with the highest priority. As she read it, her eyes widened. "What is it?" Zara asked, noticing Chen's expression. Chen looked up, a mix of excitement and trepidation in her eyes. "It's from our deep space monitoring stations. They've detected signals that match Void Hunter energy signatures, not just from our galaxy, but from dozens of others." Zara's light dimmed slightly. "Then it's as we feared. This was just the beginning." Chen nodded, but there was a fierce determination in her gaze. "Yes, but now we know what we're up against, and we won't face it alone." She gestured to the assembled galactic delegates. "Look around. A week ago, we were outsiders. Now we're at the heart of the greatest alliance the galaxy has ever seen." As if to underscore her words, the Arbiter called for attention. "We have reached a decision. The Galactic Defense Force is hereby established, with Earth granted a permanent seat on the High Command. Admiral Chen, in recognition of your leadership, you are offered the position of Supreme Commander of this new force. Do you accept?" Chen straightened, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. She thought of Earth, of Lumina, of all the worlds that now looked to humanity as defenders against the darkness. Her voice rang out, clear and strong. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept. The Void Hunters and any other threat that emerges from the darkness will find that the light of our galaxy burns brightly, and we will stand together, united, to face whatever comes." As cheers erupted throughout the chamber, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The road ahead would be challenging, fraught with dangers they could scarcely imagine. But humanity had answered the call, had proven their worth in the cosmic crucible. They had fought not just for themselves, but for all sentient life. The galaxy was changing, alliances were shifting, and at the heart of it all stood humanity. No longer newcomers, but essential guardians of the light against the encroaching dark. As Chen looked out at the assembled representatives of 100 worlds, she knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. The cosmic crucible had forged something new. A united galaxy, standing defiant against the void. And humanity, once alone in the night sky, now found itself at the vanguard of this grand alliance, ready to write the next chapter in the history of the cosmos.